Our next in-person mastermind is coming up this fall, and we're heading to Vegas. We're kicking off this mastermind with an in-person tour at Zappos downtown Las Vegas campus, where you'll learn their strategies behind company culture, core values, employee engagement, and customer service. Looking outside the legal industry for business concepts and strategies allows you to gain fresh perspectives and innovative solutions that can be applied to improve and differentiate your firm's operations. Following the tour are the mastermind hot seats. Every attendee has the opportunity to dive deep into their business obstacles with their mastermind group and coach. We believe that nothing beats working on your firm in person, so join us in Las Vegas on November 7th and 8th. This is your chance to break through barriers, spark new ideas, and accelerate your law firm's success. Limited spots are available. Visit maxlawevents.com for full event details and to grab your ticket today.
Run your law firm the right way. This is the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. Your hosts, Jim Hacking and Tyson Mutrux. Let's partner up and maximize your firm. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Jim Hacking.
And I'm Tyson Mutrux. What's up, Jimbo?
Oh, Tyson, it's good to be back. We haven't recorded in a while. I just noticed that our episode with John Day was released, and I was like, man, we just recorded that. So I know that means that we don't have many in the can. I know we have a full day of recording today, so I'm excited to spend the day with you.
Yeah, it usually means one of two things. Either it was bumped up, which sometimes we do, we bump them up, or it's we have very few in the can, which is, it sounds like that's where where we are. So
could be both, because it was a great episode and it's summertime, so sometimes the bounty runs a little low.
That's very true. Very true. What you up to these days? How you doing?
One of my YouTube subscribers sent me a bag of Dungeons and Dragon dice. I'm very excited about it. I can do the sound if you want to hear it. And you might say to yourself, Jim, why do you have...
Yes, that's exactly what I want to know. Why do you have Dungeons and Dragons dice?
I made a comment on the show, on my live show a couple weeks ago, about how I really wish I had a 20-sided die, because people call me up on the show and they have some cockamamie immigration plan that's really, really dumb. And I say to them, well, you have a 5% chance of this going really, really badly, or you have a 10% chance of this going really, really badly. So I wanted to have dice to represent, to say, okay, let's play a game. You're going to throw out a number. I'm going to roll the dice. And if you hit, that means you're getting deported or you're going to be stuck outside the United States. And that scares the shit out of people. They're like, no, man, don't throw that die. Don't throw that. I don't want to see that. So somebody just, they didn't identify who they were, but they said, here are the dice for you.
I like it. Well, you know what? Now that we're gonna do a little show and tell. So Stephen McClellan sent me this cool little thing. Check this out.
Dude.
So
he's a good dude.
For those of you that can actually see, this is a piece of the airplane of the Spirit of St. Louis. He's a pilot. I'm a pilot, and it's really cool. So what there's a little description. When they used to, for the wings, they used to use fabric, right? Not aluminum. And so it's a piece of the fabric from the plane, which is pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
Yes. Thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate it. That's awesome. But all right, I want to make sure we have time for our topic today, because I think it's a good one. Do you want to introduce the topic?
Today I want to talk about perfectionism. And, as of the time of this recording, we have about 200 law firm owners in the Guild. Obviously, we have thousands of other law firm owners in the big group and who listen to the podcast. And I have to say that one of the things that I see really holding people back is perfectionism. And I would define perfectionism as sort of an overarching, debilitating fear to get started because you're not going to be able to do it perfectly or exactly right forever. And I think it really is a hurdle for a lot of people, and I thought it would make an interesting topic for our show today.
I think it's a beautiful topic, and it's funny. Sometimes these topics, they track. Actually, I would say not sometimes. Usually, the topics track what's going on in our lives. And I think this is an interesting one because both of us, Jason Selk is coaching both of us right now. And perfectionism is one of those things that he talks about quite a bit because that PCT is very, 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 very bad. And I would agree with you. And I would say that the perfectionism is many times the things that it stops people from launching. And launching, not just meaning the firm, but launching anything, any idea that they have, any special project, hiring people, starting their firm, you name it. They want everything to be lined up just right. And the reality is that that's not the right way of going about things. But it's a massive block, wouldn't you say? Like, would you say that's the number one block for people? I don't know if I would say number one, but would you?
I'm a little biased because I'm a 10 quick start. So I sort of speed through those kinds of things, and so I might not be the most accurate judge of that. But yes, I think it's certainly one of the top 3 things that hold law firm owners back, that fear of getting started versus just jumping right in. And I'm glad that you mentioned that half the time the things that or even more so, half the times we talk about issues on this show that are things that we've either struggled with or are currently struggling with. So I guess we should begin by talking about our own journeys with perfectionism. How has it manifested for you? And then I can share sort of what I've struggled with in my own weird way of perfectionism.
It's an interesting question. I didn't know you were going to ask me that, but I'm glad you did. I mean, I think the way that probably early on, the way it manifested the most is just probably beating myself up too much over things that I should have been really happy about. And instead I picked on the small things. And that is one of those symptoms of that perfectionism where you'll do something really, really well. And let's just use it. We'll go with it's baseball season. Let's go with a baseball analogy. Let's say that you have an amazing game and let's say you were 3 for 4. Right. And you had, let's see, a triple, a double, and a single. Oh, and you did great in the field. But on that one at bat, you struck out. Like at the end of the day, you focused. And I would say I was really bad about this whenever I played baseball growing up, where I'd have an amazing game and I would talk about that one thing that happened. And I would say that that's probably where it manifested the most. Is not, and that's not just in baseball, but like throughout my life, that's probably where it's manifested the most, is when it comes to perfectionism. What about you?
So for me, this isn't going to surprise you because you know how I run in streaks, and I'll have a great streak going. I'll be doing everything right the way that I want to do it, and then I'll have one bad day, and then I'm like, fuck it, I want to stop. I'm never going to do that again, right? Like that's really how perfectionism holds me back, is that the goal of perfectionism defeats the satisfaction of getting the wins, the small wins. I mean, I remember when I read in Relentless Solution Focus where there was a hockey player who was struggling with drinking, and Jason said to him, well, why don't you just drink one night a week? And I was like, one night a week? Well, that'll break his streak. Like then that'll be bad. And so, yeah, this is something that really I've struggled with and still struggle with.
And it's funny about you. Like you'll be very passionate about something one way or the other, and let's just wait a week. Let's just wait a week. We'll see how Jim's feeling next week. And if Jim feels the same way in a week, all right, well then he's really committed to whatever that thing is.
So let's talk about. Go ahead.
No. But I was going to say you're right about it. But like I think it's also important that there are so many people that preach there's always like one way. But what you just said is really important about like there's no like one way. Like you go in streaks. Some people don't. Like there's no one way. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit. But just because we're saying one thing doesn't mean it's the way.
Well, let's talk about something much more fun than how we've struggled with perfectionism, and that is how we see others struggling with perfectionism, because it's so much easier to talk about them over there versus us. But, I mean, I was talking to a friend yesterday who wants to get into a consulting business and wants to start doing some social media, and, she wants it to be perfect. She wants it to be top-notch. She wants it to be high quality, and those are all good things. Those are all good things, unless 6 months later you're still talking about that and haven't created some damn content. So I think that's the real test, is that if you've thought about doing a change or doing something new, and you're in prep mode for that for a really, really long time. Like it's like the classic story of the law firm owner who can't announce their new firm venture unless they have the best logo that's ever been designed, right? Or the best trade name for their law firm. So
it's just such a waste of time. Such a waste of time.
Yeah. So it's sort of not realizing what the most important thing is, which is just getting started. A good example, I have a YouTube live show with lots of people watching now, and I talk for an hour about immigration. And if you go back and look at my old videos, they're just so boring. And so, hi, I'm Jim. I'm an immigration lawyer. Today, let's talk about citizenship. I mean, it could be no more boring. So you've got to get started so that you can get better.
Yeah, and it's really about making that progress. And so if you kind of just step back and think about the way you should really view your day is, okay, did I make progress today? Did I move the ball forward? Okay. And if you did, you need to celebrate that. It's not whether, like, it's interesting. So we'll do these accountability calls in the guild, and people will say the things that they're going to do on Monday, and then Friday they'll come to the Friday call and they'll do all these amazing things. Right. And then they'll be like, but I didn't get it all done. So, I'll give myself a 5 out of 10. Well, like, hold on a second. Like, did you put in a good amount of effort towards moving the ball forward? And like, sometimes they'll put like 5-6 hours into the thing, whatever the thing is, and they'll have made a bunch of progress, but then they'll beat themselves up because they didn't get it done. And the reality is you're not going to get things done every week and every single day. It's something that it takes time. Like some of these projects that we're doing as firm owners, they take several months, right? Kashev and I have been working on the most current project. It won't get done until the end of September probably. And if you really step back and the whole project has taken, it's really a 2.5-year project that we've been working on. But it's something that we're working on regularly, and it's bit by bit by bit, and we're always making progress on it. But it eats me up whenever I see these law firm owners. They're beating themselves up whenever they're making a ton of progress, but then they're just down on themselves because they didn't finish the thing, whatever the thing is. And that's just a really negative way of viewing things.
I think another form of perfection is when a law firm owner says to themselves, well, everything has to be perfect before I do this, especially hiring. Everything, I have to have all this money in the bank account before I do that. If you find yourself using language like that, like the stars have to align, or I won't be able to take action. I mean, that to me is really where I see it manifesting itself a lot, is that maybe it's a safety thing, maybe it's a fear thing, maybe it's I don't want to go out on a limb. But, I hate to tell you, part of running a law firm is the uncertainty of outcome. And if you are really, really being limited by that, then maybe you want to have a job and not so much be running a law firm, because running a law firm is a risk-entailing venture.
Are you tired of the marketing guessing game? Does your website feel more like a digital billboard than a client magnet? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. And it's time to stop the uncertainty and start getting real results. Let's talk about your marketing spend. Are you just shelling out money every month and crossing your fingers? Do you ever wonder what impact your marketing is really having on your revenue? Well, it's time to take the guesswork out of the equation with Rise Up Media. We've been working with them for over a year, and the feedback from our fellow members has been fantastic. Rise Up Media is here to take your marketing to the next level. They'll even perform a full audit of your online presence, giving you the good, the bad, and even let you in on what your competition is up to that you're missing out on. And the best part, there's no obligation, no catch, no pressure. If you decide to work with them, their contracts are month to month. That's right. No long-term commitments tying you down. So what are you waiting for? To learn more about how Rise Up Media can transform your firms, visit riseupmedia.com/maxlaw, and Rise is spelled with a Z. riseupmedia.com/maxlaw. One of those is I got to have all the video equipment. I've got to have all the right video equipment before I start doing videos. And I've got to have all my scripts written. I've got to have all my topics. I've got to have all the best lighting. But in reality, Jim, what is your most valuable piece of video equipment?
Probably this microphone and that camera.
Okay, not expensive, most valuable. What's the one you use the most often?
Oh, my phone.
Your phone. That's right.
Yeah.
It's your phone. Like it is. I actually right now I'm recording this episode. The camera is my phone camera. That's what I'm using. Camo is what I'm using, and the video is amazing on it.
Yep.
And we overlook those things sometimes. I think a good lesson is to look for the simplicity. Look for the simplicity in things as opposed to trying to make things so complicated. And if you can find that simplicity, it's going to really help you combat that perfectionism.
You're listening to the Maximum Aware Podcast. Our guest today is that MFer Perfection, and we're kicking MFer Perfection to the curb. Tyson, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about sort of how we break through perfectionism, sort of what are some tips that we can give to our listeners about how to move past perfectionism.
I would say the number one thing, maybe the number one thing is celebrating your wins is maybe the number one, even if they're small. Just finding a win, even if you say at the end of the day, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything today. No, you did something. Like you did something. You did something to move the ball forward, and celebrating those.
Why
things.
Is that
and
important?
It's going to change the way you view things quite a bit, and it's going to make you appreciate the small progress that you make on a regular basis, and it's going to allow you to realize how you're watching things progress as you're actually seeing things. And if you're taking that self-assessment, you're watching in real time as the ball is moving forward, how you're making progress inch by inch by inch on whatever that project is, whatever that thing is you're doing. You're actually able to stop in the middle of all the chaos of your life and say, oh you know what? I am actually making progress on that. And it's going to give you that boost of confidence that you really need, because confidence is really the number one factor that you should be looking for is that confidence. If you can boost that confidence, everything else will sort of fall into place.
For me, when I find myself slipping into perfectionist tendencies, one of the things that really helps is just to take some action. To do one little step, to do one thing. What can I do today or in the next 25 minutes or this hour? Not putting it off till tomorrow, giving myself some wiggle room. I think sometimes I've really seen people, I've gone through this myself, where you get I always view it as a box inside of sand. Like somebody has dug a box of sand in the sand for you and you're sort of trapped down in it, and you got to sort of start to wiggle free. And you got to sort of, I think I've told you before about when we were canoeing down the Black River when I was a kid, and my dad got caught in some quicksand and he started to sink. And my dad was a man of quick action and hot temper. And so he wanted to just sort of like go crazy and get out. But what he did was he just stopped moving and he found himself floating to the top. So I think about that when it comes to being stuck in that sand mass of perfectionism, is that you've got to do something to just change it. Maybe it's go for a run or go to the spa, or just do something to give yourself some freedom and a little bit of movement so that you can get out of that box and then move towards where you want to be.
As much of a routine guy as I am, I love the idea of pattern interrupt, where you've got your routine, but then you say, you know what, I'm changing things up today. I'm going to stop doing this thing and I'm going to go out and like you said, go for a walk, go for a run. Maybe I'm going to take this meeting outside and we're going to go on a walk. That the whole pattern interrupt can be very, very valuable. I think that's a whole episode for another day, but
it probably is.
That's
it probably is, because the very first thing my therapist had me do when I started seeing her years ago was to brush my teeth with my left hand. That was the very first thing, the very first homework assignment that I got was to brush my teeth with my left hand. And I think you're right. I mean, on Wednesdays, I work out. I get up every morning at 4:20 to go to the gym to work out at 5. On Wednesdays, I really go out on the edge and I say, you can sleep as long as you want on Wednesdays and Sundays. And now 9 times out of 10, I get up somewhere between 4:30 and 5, but I have been known to sleep longer. And I think you have to build in those pattern interrupts to try to break up that routine and that monotony.
As a quick time out, what was the purpose of brushing your teeth with your left hand?
First of all, it triggers different synapses in your brain, but I think more so it was just to see things from a different point of view. I mean, try it tomorrow. I mean, when you do it, you're just like, what? Or you're left-handed, aren't you?
I'm right-handed. No, I'm right-handed.
Yeah, so try it with your left hand. Just see what. It just feels weird. It feels a little different. And it was about. She knew that. I mean, back then I was in a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort, and she knew that she wanted to push those buttons to try to see what shifts could be made.
I can't wait to do this. You know me, I'm into experimenting.
You can do it in your ice freezer. Speaking of pattern interrupts,
I'm gonna get to my tip. I'm gonna get to my tip later. So that's gonna be my tip of the week. So very good. All right. Any final words on this, Jimbo?
Well, as always, be easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You don't need to listen to this episode and say to yourself, God damn it, I am a perfectionist, and then use that to keep yourself from taking action, right? So as with all things, a little progress is good. Just do what you can. Try to move the needle a little bit. If you need help, reach out in the big group, join the guild, talk to us, reach out to Tyson or I. I mean, I was talking to a member yesterday who's struggling. It's not easy running a law firm. It's one of the hardest things you'll do besides raising kids. And I was thinking the other day we could do an episode on how running a law firm is like raising kids. But in general, I just want you to be your best, to free yourself from whatever's holding you back. That's why Tyson and I started this podcast in the first place, why we started the Facebook group, why we started the guild, so that people would have resources and a place to go that's optimistic, forward-looking, wanting to improve, sort of drowning out the negative. And I really believe that with all the negativity that's going around, you need to surround yourself with people who don't subscribe to that, who don't give in to that. The election cycle is heating back up again, and I find myself getting drawn back to Twitter. And I just got to remember that stuff is just noise, and it keeps me and you from moving forward.
100%. Well said. It's not Twitter anymore. It's X.
Oh yeah, even big on that. Yes.
Yeah, it's posts now. It's not tweets. It's posts. But all right, Jimbo, let's wrap things up. Speaking of hanging out with positive people, if you want to join us in the big Facebook group, join us there if you will. It's just, if you're not in the Facebook group, you're listening to this, I think you're missing out on a ton of valuable content. If you want a more high-level conversation with more curated content, go to maxlawguild.com. We'd love to have you there. And if you get something from this podcast, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star review and help share the love. It helps spread the word to other law firm owners just like you. Jimmy, what's your hack of the week?
In the last few weeks on LinkedIn and Facebook, I have seen people make posts where they sort of talk about things they're thankful for, and they tag people that have sort of guided them. We received one of those this morning. Somebody left us a nice review, and it wasn't somebody that we even know or that we've ever heard of. And Joey Vitale's really good at this, about, sort of these gratitude posts where you tag people. I think it could be annoying and overused, but I think it's a great way to get engagement and to sort of thank the people that have helped you. And I've written those posts. I think it's a good tool to keep in your toolbox. Again, don't abuse it, but I think it's something that can really sort of amplify the kinds of things we were just talking about on the episode, which is that positivity and the gratitude.
Yep. I like that one. I think anytime you can thank someone for helping you get to where you are, I think that it's a very good thing. My tip of the week, you sort of hinted at it actually. So I've been wanting to do cold plunges for a while, and it was funny. So Amy and I went out. I went to buy like one of those big tubs to do it in, and she's like, why are we doing this? Like, I've been watching all these videos online where these people are taking chest freezers and doing it. I said, what? And I was a little resistant at first. She's like, yeah. She's like, a lot of it. So we pulled up some videos, and I saw some people how they're doing it, and so I put together a chest freezer cold plunge, and it's really simple. You have a water filter, you have a chest freezer that I got for $175 on Facebook, cleaned it out, and then I got this Inkbird that it's a little plug that goes into the wall, and then this temperature probe goes into the freezer, and once it gets to the optimal temperature that you set it at, it shuts off, right? So it shuts off the electricity to it, so it doesn't get any colder. And it's really cool. So, and the way the chest freezer is it will stay at that same temperature for days. If you keep the lid closed, it's incredible how long it will stay at that same temperature. So the amount of time that it's actually on, it's very, very minimal. But I did it this morning. It's the feeling. I'm not even gonna list all the benefits that you get from doing a cold plunge, but you should just Google it. It's quite amazing. The high that you get from it from the dopamine. It's a sustained high. It's not one of those things where it's like temporary. It actually lasts throughout the day. It's really, really cool. So I highly recommend it. If you thought about it, you don't have to do a deep freeze one, but you do a cold plunge if you've not done it before. Really recommend it.
What temperature do you keep the water at?
So I've got it down to, I started it in the high 50s. I'm now at 55, and 55 may not seem like it's like, to some people, whenever I heard the temperatures, like that doesn't sound very cold. When you're in it, it's freaking cold. So my goal is to get it down to 50 is my goal.
And how long do you stay
about
in?
halfway there.
How long do you stay in?
All right. So I'm up to 3 minutes. All right. I started at 1 minute, and then now I'm up to 3 minutes. I think I'll probably end up getting to the point where I'll be done around 10 minutes. But the real point is where you should stop is where you start to shiver, because if you start to shiver, the benefits, that's what you've now achieved all the benefits that you're going to get out of it. So it doesn't matter if it's 30 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever. When you start to shiver is whenever you should start to get out, because then that's where the benefits start to, there's no more returns on your body and staying in there if you stay in longer than when you start shivering. So that's really when you should stop. Have you done one ever?
Yeah. I've gone to those cryo places.
Okay, gotcha.
And I when I read the Jim Quick book, I did some cold showers for a while, but I sort of moved on from that.
Yeah, well, and with that, there is some research that says that a cold shower is going to give you just as much of a benefit as a cold plunge. So that if you're wanting to just do cold showers, you can do it. But I can tell you, I've done cold showers. We did cold showers because of 75 hard, because the different phases we went through. I can tell you, it's not even comparable. The energy you get from the cold plunge versus the cold shower. A lot better. All right, man. Good talking to you. I'll talk to you more later.
Thanks for listening to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. To stay in contact with your host and to access more content, go to MaximumLawyer.com. Have a great week and catch you next time.
Before you go, have you heard Jim and Tyson talk about the Guild on the podcast or in the Facebook group? If not, you're missing out on some really exciting things happening with Guild members and their law firms. The Guild includes a community, accountability, trainings, group coaching, and in-person events like our quarterly masterminds. Inside, you'll gain support, tap into a network of connections, and continue learning, a common theme among successful entrepreneurs. Investing in a community is like the self-care of business ownership. Surrounding yourself with other people who get it is crucial when you're creating a rock-solid foundation to build your business on, one that's strong enough to withstand setbacks, transitions, and growth. So head to MaximumLawyer.com/the Guild to join now and get started today.